Hey everybody, it's great to see you today. Welcome to Living Power, your online Bible study where we are walking through the Bible in a year. Today is January 15th and we are in the book of Genesis and we are looking at the story of Joseph. We mentioned yesterday just how much we love this story. This is one of my favorite Bible stories ever. Maybe it's one of your favorites too. And today we're going to continue in the life of Joseph, and I'm going to show you 7 ways in which we can see Jesus in the Joseph story. And if you pay real close attention, I might even give you a bonus today. As we get started, I really want to thank you for Bible studying with me today. I am so excited that you have decided to join me, and I really just can't wait to share some of these points with you in the lesson today. I get really excited to do that, and I just want to tell you that we are halfway through the first month and we're just trekking right along, and I just wanted to give you a word of encouragement. You're doing a great job, and I'm just so proud of you and thankful that you've decided to read the Bible this year with me. So Joseph, in the reading today, is a servant in the royal prison. He's in the royal prison, which is not the same prison that he was in the first time. So this is a little bit different. He interprets the cupbearer and the chief baker's dreams. And how disappointed do you suppose he was when he interpreted, he said that God interpreted the dreams, but he allowed God to work through him interpreting the baker and the cupbearer's dreams. And he said, now when you get released, because he told one of them they were going to get released in 3 days. Do you remember what he asked him to do? He said, please don't forget about me, and perhaps you can get me out of here. Did he remember? No. He completely forgot about Joseph, and I think it was 2 years later, but it was a long time later that he actually remembers Joseph and mentions him to Pharaoh. He eventually does mention Joseph to Pharaoh, but it's a long time. And can you imagine just how disappointed Joseph was at that point? Meanwhile, we see in our chronological Bible that there has been something happening back home. Joseph's father, Jacob, has realized that his father, Isaac, has died. And we see that Esau and Jacob, who are brothers, go home to bury Isaac. And I was wondering, how long was this since the time Jacob first kind of fled home the first time? And I believe it was about 50 years. So think back when Jacob went in to deceive his father and posing as his brother. Remember, the dad didn't have very good eyesight, and it looked like his health was failing at that point, but he lived to be another 50 years old. So we see Jacob burying Isaac. And then the narrative turns back to Pharaoh having these dreams. Now, these dreams are important because it's a prophetic dream that Egypt and really the surrounding world at that time was going to have 7 years of plenty, followed by 7 years of famine. And of course, God is raising up Joseph to be able to interpret the dream. We can see here that God gave Joseph a spiritual gift of administration, that he was able to kind of organize and categorize what needed to be done. So he sees the big picture, but he also sees the detail. And he solves the problem by telling Pharaoh, we need to save a fifth of what we have each year so that when the famine comes in 7 years, we have enough grain and food to keep the people alive. Pharaoh loved the idea. That's when he put Joseph in charge of everything. So this is the end of prison for Joseph. He is cleaned up. He's given brand new clothes. He's given a signet ring. This ring would have kind of been Pharaoh's ring that would have allowed him with a wax seal to sign official documents, make decisions. I mean, he was like the chief operating officer of this entire nation. And the famine does come, and the famine hits hard. In fact, other nations in the world are hit by this famine, surrounding nations, even Jacob's family, and they are at God's part of God's plan is that they would come to Egypt, as many people did, because that's the only place that had food. So see God's sovereign plan here working to try to get the nation of Israel, which eventually grows into millions and millions of people, but right now it's just Jacob's immediate family, to get them to move to Egypt. This is how God does it. So, would you like to see Jesus today in the Joseph story? I have 7 points that I found, and if I forget to ask you later, I'm going to go ahead and ask you now after I give you these 7. If you see any more, would you post a little note on the blog today? Okay, here's number 1. Both Jesus and Joseph were beloved sons of their father, but they were rejected by their brothers. Right? Jesus was beloved by the Father in heaven, but he was rejected by his own people. And Joseph was, of course, a beloved son by Jacob, but he was rejected by his brothers. Number 2, both Jesus and Joseph were sold as a slave. Jesus was sold for 30 pieces of silver, Joseph for 20 shekels. Number 3, one day the people who rejected them will see Jesus and Joseph as their king. This is certainly going to be true of Jesus at his second coming. And for Joseph, we haven't read about it yet, but the brothers will bow down and he will be Lord over them. Number 4, both Jesus and Joseph were victorious over temptation. Jesus was tempted, he never sinned, and it appears here from the story that Joseph was tempted in many ways, yet he remained faithful to God. Number 5, both were arrested and treated unjustly. So even though they did nothing wrong, they were arrested and treated wrongly. Of course, we know Joseph was thrown into prison and Jesus, of course, was ultimately taken to the cross. Number 6, both Jesus and Joseph were faithful to God and ministered to others. And number 7, they were both eventually exalted to a position of authority and were responsible for saving the nations. Of course, Jesus saves the nations. All those who will believe in him and will turn to him, they are saved spiritually, and in Joseph's day, they were saved physically from dying of starvation. Now, since you've been so attentive today, I'm going to give you a bonus. There's actually, and I love to find patterns of 7, but I actually found another one. The brothers, here's your bonus, the brothers did not recognize him their first visit to Egypt. And we're getting a little ahead of ourselves because in tomorrow's reading you're going to read that the brothers come at Joseph's request to buy some food because there's a famine where they're living. And they come to Joseph, and Joseph recognizes them, but they don't recognize him. Now, how is that like Jesus? Jesus came as the Messiah to the Jewish people, but they did not recognize him as Messiah. The second trip, however, Joseph's brothers do recognize Joseph because he reveals themselves, and at the second coming, all of Israel will acknowledge that Jesus is their Messiah because he will reveal himself as Messiah to them. Isn't this great? Now, if you didn't like that bonus, I'll give you one more. Maybe you'll love this bonus too. Here's 2 bonuses for today. Oh, we're on a roll. Joseph married Joseph married an Egyptian, and he was given this woman in marriage by Pharaoh. Joseph married a Gentile because she, obviously being Egyptian, wasn't an Israelite. So her marriage to Joseph is a type of Christ's marriage to the church because the church aren't Jewish, they're Gentiles. And this is what happens. Jesus and the church is called the bride of Christ, during the time when the brothers, or in this case his Jewish people, reject him. So how'd you like that? Joseph's name, I'll give you one more thing to think about today. Joseph's name means he was given a new name by Pharaoh. And we like to look at the meaning of names because in the Bible, a Hebrew name has a lot of prophetic meaning by it. it's not really true of our culture where we just kind of name our children whatever name we like, but it's very true in the Bible to look at the name because there's meaning. Joseph's name, Zaphenath Paneah, which is the one that the Pharaoh gave him, actually means a revealer of secrets. And there are 3 secrets that Joseph revealed. First was that he revealed the meaning of Pharaoh's dream, which ultimately led to the saving of the nation. Second, he is the revealer of the brother's heart. Tomorrow in your reading, look for the crafty and such wise way Joseph used to uncover the condition of his brother's heart, to see if they were really sorrowful and sorry for what they had done to him in selling him into slavery. We're going to learn about that secret tomorrow. A third secret that Joseph revealed, which we will also read about in the coming days, is God's purpose in all this. Ultimately, Joseph is able to kind of put a label on it. Why did God allow all this to happen in my life? And he will reveal that through Scripture in the coming days as well. So these are the 3 secrets that Joseph was able to uncover, hence his name, the revealer of secrets. Well, we are going to continue tomorrow in the story of Joseph. So watch for the brothers coming tomorrow. Watch for their first visit. Watch what happens on their second visit and see if Joseph doesn't reveal himself to them in the end. I know you will enjoy that story. Well, thanks so much for being with me today. It was my pleasure to Bible study with you. Blessings to you and your family. Shalom.